So we have the graph over here of g of x. I went ahead and graphed that for us. And we call this an exponential because it's raised to the x. And one thing we know about exponentials is the domain, at least for the ones we do in this class, those are going to be all real numbers. And one way to say all real numbers is negative infinity to infinity. So this goes to the left forever, and this goes down and right forever. However, when you're talking about left to right, that's all real numbers. But you may notice that this never gets above this number. And that's what we call an asymptote. And exponentials always have an asymptote that's horizontal. And the asymptote is actually right here at -1. And so remember, any line going left to right that's horizontal, that's y equals. So the asymptote is y equals -1. This line will never, it'll get closer and closer and closer, but it'll never touch that line. So what that means is range we would say all real numbers less than -1. So the way I could write that would be negative infinity to -1. Now you can usually get the asymptote by graphing, but in case they just give you the equation, the asymptote is always going to be right here. So notice that's -1, and so that would be the range. Now, when we look at the logarithmic function and we talk about domain and range, this time the asymptote, instead of y equals, it's going to be x equals. Because the asymptote is right here. And on the graph, that looks to be about -3. And it is because it comes from this. If that's +3, the asymptote's -3. Okay, so that's x equals -3, which means the domain is going to be everything bigger than -3. So the way I would write that is -3 to infinity. Notice this goes down forever, it's going to go up forever. So the range is going to be all real numbers, or negative infinity to infinity. Okay, so those aren't too bad. Now let's look at this. Find and correct all the errors. What is the correct solution? So when I look at this, I see that the operator is a plus. And when you're combining two logarithms through plus, you should multiply. So you're going to take this times this. And so let's do that real quick. If I take this times this, I'd get the log of base 2 is 3x times x plus 1. And excuse my handwriting, I'm trying to type this. And so when I distribute, I take 3x times 2x, that would be 6x squared. And then 3x times 1 is 3x. And this was going to combine in the log of 2. And that's still going to equal 5. So when I write this out, this is going to be 2 to the 5th, when I change to exponential. 2 to the 5th is 6x squared plus 3. And so I'm working on correcting the error, but I can see the error they made it looks like because they saw this as plus, they forgot that that's really times. So they did 3x plus x. So they did 3x plus x plus 1 to get 4x plus 1. That is their mistake. So I found the error. The error was they added instead of multiply. Now we're working on fixing the mistake. 2 to the 5th is 32. So I get 32 equals 6x squared plus 3. And now I would move the 32 over, and I get 0 is 6x squared. And then I would take 3. I've noticed I left my x off of this, because that should be 2 to the 5th equals 6x squared plus 3x. So that's supposed to be 3x. So it'll be 6x squared plus 3x. And that's going to be, since I subtract 32 from both sides, minus 32. So now I'm going to try to factor that. I'm not quite sure that factors. So I'm going to go type that into Desmos and see what the solutions are. Six x squared plus 3x minus 32. Yeah, I don't think that does factor. So the answers would be negative 2.573 and 2.073. So those are my two solutions. However, you can't have a negative number here. And if I take 3 times negative 2.573, I get a negative. So we would just go with the 2.073. So x equals 2.073.